Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. Tonight's special guest that we have with us is Doug Williams. He is from Green Earth Medicinals and has a plethora of information to share with us tonight. Thank you so much, Doug, for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate your welcome. So, as Elizabeth said, I'm Doug Williams. I'm the National Sales Director for Green Earth Medicinals, and today we're going to be talking about how hemp extracted CBD works, how it affects our perception of our world and threats within it, and whether that we're talking about pain, anxiety, or immune challenges, we're all talking about our body's ability to perceive our environment internally and externally. We present this information to help you understand the current science, the clinical, herbal, and medical experience that's guiding our understanding of CBD dominant hemp and its benefits. And when we're done, hopefully you're going to have a better understanding of hemp as a tool in our herbal toolbox. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but hopefully you will come away from this training better informed and asking better questions about CBD dominant hemp. So as a company that works with medical professionals as well as natural products retailers, we do have to be careful about how we talk about what we do. So this information is for educational purposes to understand CBD and its use to support health, and no information or reference presented as a marketing claim to treat, cure, mitigate a disease or disease state in a man or animal. And all of this is dealing with a rapidly changing landscape of as we gain more information. And we really, this is an old piece, old slide. We used to, a few years ago, when hemp legality was still in question in much of the country, we used to have a disclaimer that I'm not an attorney, which I'm still not an attorney, but it is now legal in all 50 states. And part of the reason of that explanation is that people have this impression that we're not regulated. We're incredibly regulated. And unfortunately, we can't have the most direct, straightforward conversations because any claim to treat a disease is considered a drug claim by the FDA. So even when I talk about science, you're going to hear a lot of caveats because we're trying to be respectful of the laws, which basically say that if we're dealing with the disease, there's a disease state, we're selling drugs, and that changes everything in a regulatory perspective. So there's a reason why the folks at Marlene's can't always give you the most straightforward answer. It's that we're not allowed to. So that is a whole new discussion in its own right. But let's go ahead and get started talking about CBD. So the outline of the module is that we're going to give you a little bit of information about our company, the current state of what's going on with CBD, because there's been a lot of changes. Talk about cannabis, which hemp is cannabis, and talking about that as an herb and a crop, and the challenges that come in with that, and the choices that companies make. And then we're going to talk about the endocannabinoid system, which is the body system this plant interacts with, and the implication that it has with our cell signaling systems, and how those all interact to affect our health. And then we'll discuss how we use cannabis in clinical use in a way that hopefully is going to give you better understanding of the choices you have and the questions you should be asking. So if you're not aware, Green Earth Medicinals is the clinical brand of CBD products that are backed by decades of medical and herbal practice with cannabis, with over 4,000 case studies informing the development of our products. Our products were originally developed with practitioners for their use with their patients, as well as for the supporting for people who use CBD to support their health. And we combine full spectrum hemp extracts with other medicinal herbs for targeted use. So the biggest difference with us is our intention. We're trying to make medicine to support health. And there are dozens of choices we make that collectively result in what are the best botanical formulas we can produce for people who truly need them. So with that, since the passage of the 2018 Farm Bill, hemp has become the number 5 cash crop in the United States, and the market grew to a little over 4,000 brands. It's now under about 2,000. But when you look at health food surveys of health food consumers, you find that a lot of folks are very disappointed in the offerings available. And that's easy to understand when you look at the data, because most of the products that are on the market today do not meet label claims and average about 25% less CBD than is labeled. And most products that are labeled as full spectrum or broad spectrum are actually isolate, so they don't work as well as they're supposed to. And even if people are getting high quality products, many people don't necessarily know how to use them properly. So we're going to go over the proper use of CBD to support health and also explain why it's important you source your CBD from a reputable retailer such as Marlene's, who screen their product choices to ensure you're getting the best quality available. So hemp is a form of cannabis sativa. Cannabis, by consensus, is now understood to just be one plant species, from the 30-foot tall trees used in industrial hemp to the smaller flowering bushes we favor for medical use. It's all sativa. Sativa is Latin for cultivar, so these are all just different cultivars of cannabis. And similar to how there's thousands of grape varieties that can be made into different wines, we have different cannabis varieties, and they can affect people differently. And these different forms can express differently based on environmental stress and immune challenges that the plant experiences out in the field. Now, the beneficial parts of the cannabis plants are really concentrated in these little look like little oil balloons, and it's not far removed from what they are. And they cover they're called trichomes, and they cover the flowers and leaves. And there's a much greater quantity and diversity of phytochemicals present in the flowers and leaves than you have in the stalk, which has a very limited spectrum of compounds. The most effective CBD products to support health are made from full spectrum extracts, and I'll explain that, made from the flowers and leaves of the plants. So within this one species, we have currently identified tens of thousands of distinct cultivars that will express compounds differently based on the stress and immune challenges of the plant while it's growing. And this is part of why the physical effects of the plants can vary greatly from different varieties and from different companies, and even from season to season. And CBD and THC are a start to understanding what you're getting, but there's also hundreds of terpenes, flavones, stilbenes, and they can all drive the physical effects for the consumer. And the question then becomes, if it's not the CBD and THC, what else is it? What else is it? Well, it's the cofactors. And of course, that begs, well, what do they do? Well, we're still learning. But we do know that the full spectrum of the plant really gives you better medicine. And what is present there is determined by the environment it's grown in. So where it was grown is really going to matter. And what variety is grown is going to change depending on where it's grown. So if we go back to the wine example, the Pacific Northwest is known for making the best Pinot Noir in the world. And that's because of the environment. You can take that Pinot Noir grape, and while our company's based in Oregon, I actually live in Atlanta, and we can grow Pinot Noir grapes here. Nobody wants to buy that wine because it doesn't do as well in the southern environment of red clay soil with high humidity. Southern Oregon and the Pacific Northwest has hot, dry days and cool nights with low humidity that is ideal for the Pinot Noir, but really ideal for growing the cannabis plant, which is why that region of the country is considered to be the best in the world for growing cannabis. And we are located down near Medford, Oregon, and that is kind of the most concentrated part of the cannabis industry, with those two counties down there producing more cannabis than the rest of Oregon combined. So it's really the center of the universe as far as this industry goes. So there are three main cannabinoids found in every one of these hemp plants, and that is CBG, CBD, and THC. CBG is the precursor or mother cannabinoid, and based on enzymes the plant produces, it's going to produce THC, it's going to produce CBD in different ratios, and with up to over 150 other cannabinoids to varying degrees, depending on the genetics and the environment. Now, we have a basic understanding of THC and CBD and just a little bit of knowledge about CBG. The other cannabinoids really are not yet well understood. We still need to do the research. Now, plants can be bred to produce more or less of these compounds, but the key thing to understand is that the full spectrum products are going to have a little bit of each of these compounds. Now, in general, CBD is very neuroprotective. It normalizes the sensitivity of the receptors of what we call the endocannabinoid system, as well as the central nervous and gut systems. And we'll talk about the endocannabinoid system in a moment. The current understanding is that CBD does not directly stimulate the receptors of this system, but it seems to upregulate enzymes responsible for the self-produced chemicals that it uses. And it helps to keep them in the system longer by slowing down the degradation of enzymes the slowing down the degradation by enzymes that we produce. Again, we'll be explaining this, but the end result is it helps us produce more of our own good stuff and keep it around longer, helping the body systems work better. The clinical observations are that CBD's best benefit comes from its ability to help the body respond better to our needs through consistent support and upregulation. Now, THC is the most well-known of the cannabinoids due to its popularity for recreational use. Marijuana is a cannabis plant with more than 0.3% THC. Hemp is a cannabis plant with less than 0.3%. These are legal terms. It's all cannabis. But for purposes of what we can sell in a health food store, it really matters. Now, some companies will remove THC to produce what's called a broad spectrum extract. We believe this is a generally bad idea when we're making medicine, because while it's not enough to get someone high or intoxicated, the amount of THC is sufficient to improve the function of the body's internal systems. Now, in clinical settings, we've had options without THC for years, but we don't use them because they don't work as well as the full spectrum products. Practitioners have observed that even the small amount of THC in hemp dramatically changes and improves the outcomes. And the current thinking is that that little bit of THC may make our body more receptive to the compounds that we produce. Now, there's up to about 150 other cannabinoids available, plus terpenes, flavones, and other polyphenols that are interacting here. And the published pharmacology is very limited, but we know from clinical experience that whole plant medicine is the best and gives the best results. And this is what we've known in herbalism for a long time. When we are talking about what we say is the entourage effect, this is full spectrum herbalism, which is that the plant as it grows works better than anything we can isolate from it. And there are no studies showing an isolate of any plant works better than the full spectrum version. We only remove elements from an extraction where the medicine has been proven to be as effective or more effective without them. And those are going to be waxes and chlorophyll, which are removed to increase absorption and increase the palatability. Now, I've been referencing the internal systems, and particularly this endocannabinoid system. So let's talk about that. You may have heard that your body has a system to absorb cannabis. That's not exactly true. The receptor network is not there for us to absorb cannabis. It's an internal system built to respond to compounds that we produce, and the cannabis plant is interacting with that system. The ECS is responsible for helping the body perceive threats in the internal and external environment and rebalance itself as it responds to stress, maintenance, immune, and repair needs. Now, our body cells and systems have ways of communicating and coordinating activity with each other via what's called cell-to-cell signaling. And cell signaling systems are typically named after the self-produced chemicals they interact with, such as serotonin or GABA. A few are named after the plants they interacted with, such as opioid receptors, and we discovered the receptors for the ECS while studying hemp or cannabis, and that's how it got its name. And the ECS itself is a conductor among cell signaling systems. Now, this is a synaptic cell signaling system our bodies use to provide biofeedback and to communicate information about our internal and external environment, usually in response to threat perception. The ECS helps us perceive and rebalance our systems as we respond to stress, maintenance, immune, and repair needs. And as part of the system, our cells use to communicate information about what is going on inside of our bodies, among our systems, and in our external world. Now, all cell signaling systems have three parts to them. The messenger compounds, in this case, the endocannabinoids, known as anandamide and 2-AG, those are the main two that we know about. We believe there are others going on that are in the system. We haven't fully discovered them, but it is suspected we have other compounds we're producing. We also have the receptors built to receive that communication, and then we have enzymes that cause us to produce those compounds and other enzymes that degrade those compounds. So these messengers in this system are an important part of how the central nervous system, gut, and immune system work together to respond to our needs and coordinate body system responses. Now, this system is important because deficiencies of these internal messenger compounds are thought to be related to dysfunction of cell signaling systems, and that may be a root cause of many health problems. So the ECS in general helps guide the functions of the endocrine, gut, and central nervous system in relation to how we relax, eat, sleep, forget, and protect ourselves, both physically and emotionally, in particular into how we perceive and respond to internal and external stressors. So let's review how those interconnected systems can go awry. Relaxing is really challenging in the modern society, and the inability to turn off the fight or flight response and simply relax is a really common challenge in an overstimulated society, not to mention a pandemic going on and any other host of stressors we're dealing with. The key is, if you can't turn off the fight or flight response or stop worrying, you can have difficulty with anxiety, digestion, sleep, pain management, and immune health. A healthy, properly functioning endocannabinoid system is essential in turning off our stress response. Now, if you're stuck in the stress response, that can contribute to poor digestion, as that stress directs circulation away from the internal digestive organs. Over time, chronic stress and poor digestion commonly correlate to major health challenges. Now, a lot of issues can contribute to poor sleep, but the ECS is very involved in helping our bodies set what are called circadian rhythms. And those are our sleep and energy cycles, when we need to be awake, when we need to be asleep. And the ECS also helps calm our stress response so that we can have restful and reparative sleep. Now, people joke about forgetting in cannabis, but it's really important for us to be able to let certain things go and to compartmentalize certain experiences away from our active thought processes. In some cases, people can have a really hard time with that. The ECS is essential in this process of keeping a proper perspective on emotional threats. And self-protection is where it really gets interesting for pain management and worry, as they're both aspects of threat perception. Both emotional fear and physical pain perception can become oversensitized to where very little information can trigger an over response. So supporting the ECS can be a very effective way of improving these responses for a better quality of life. Now, the immunity part of this protection involves the proper perception of our environment at the cellular level, recognizing friends from foe. And failure in this area is especially problematic, as the body can fail to differentiate self from non-self and start attacking our body in what is known as an autoimmune disorder. And the ECS governs the cellular communication within the microbiome of the gut, helping our body to recognize and differentiate beneficial bacteria and compounds from the harmful viruses, bacteria, fungi, and other pathogens that can be encountered through our digestive tract or through invasions of our system, such as, say, a cut or something we breathe in. So the endocannabinoid system has to do with all these levels of recognizing threat and what our response should be. So in short, the role of the endocannabinoid system is to help support a healthy perception of the world and our responses to it. CBD supports the endocannabinoid system's healthy function, and the health benefits of CBD come from supporting this system as the body restores a healthy stress response and a healthy response to threats. So let's explore a little bit more about CBD, the approaches we found effective, and how they might benefit you in supporting your health. The main thing to understand is the goal of CBD therapy is to upregulate and support the function of the ECS, and that is done by keeping CBD in the body as long as possible, to keep the ECS operating at maximum efficiency by upregulating the production of the good compounds we produce and helping them stay in the body longer. So market data has shown that most consumers do not know the standard protocols for using CBD, what choices are available. So let's do a quick review. Now, it's legal to use straight hemp flower, smoked or eaten in all 50 states, but these forms can be problematic in clinical use. First, the flower can vary wildly from season to season and even field to field, so consistency can be a challenge when you're trying to use something to support your health. Smoking flower or vaping is a very fast-acting delivery for CBD. It hits the bloodstream in about 15 seconds, but it also can leave the body very quickly, and most of the benefits are going to be depleted in about an hour. So eating the flower in food forms can also give wildly different results based on preparation forms and the digestive tract of the consumer taking it, with a great deal of variation and low predictability for absorption and utilization. So the preferred method for clinical use is going to be extracts, but there's still choices to consider in the form of extraction that you might buy. Now, there's a variety of ways to extract hemp, but basically CBD first would come either as an isolate form, what is loosely called broad spectrum. It's a new term of basically stripping the plant of THC and other compounds chemically and then adding in other compounds, or what is loosely called full spectrum, that suggests all the major compounds are present from the original plant. But even that's going to have a great deal of variation based on what plant are you extracting from. So the quality matters a lot there. Now, full disclosure, no extraction process is actually 100%. There's not a true full spectrum that you can extract. You always leave a little bit behind. And there's always a little bit of difference between the extract and the original plant. So choices made along the way during extraction can yield wildly different results. Now, CO2 extracts are the most popular and can be the most effective, depending on choices made during extraction. This process is used for some of the highest quality and lowest quality extracts on the market today. It matters who's doing the process. We spend around 17 hours in the extraction process, adjusting the pressure levels to focus on pulling different compounds from the plant, yielding an exceptionally diverse amount of minor compounds that provide better results than less diverse extractions. This labor extensive process also allows us to get consistency in our medicine. So even though the plant may have some variation, by controlling the extraction process, we can make sure that people are getting the same results every time from drop to drop, from bottle to bottle, from season to season. Now, on the other end of the scale, a lot of companies will rush this process based on cost efficiency and rush the extraction to strip it down to just CBD isolate. This race car process will typically lead at burn taste to the product, and it leaves behind the other cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavones, and gives a less effective products than we prefer in a clinical setting. You want to look at the certificate of analysis for the product to see what the actual yield of cannabinoid is. And that can typically be found on the website of the manufacturer. And we'll talk about that just a little bit more later. Now, carrier oil extractions and alcohol extractions are the oldest forms of extraction, and they're still popular because they're very cheap to produce. You take a plant, soak it in oil or alcohol for 30 days, and many of the compounds are going to absorb into the oil or the alcohol. While cheap and easy to produce, these have to be cleaned up in post-extraction to remove waxes and chlorophyll. Otherwise, they're poorly absorbed and really will have a very foul taste, sometimes referred to as bong water. So we really this is not just aesthetics. We are one of the practitioners who informed the development of our company is a pediatrician, and one of the key things is our products have to taste good enough for children to take. And if they don't taste good, they won't take them. And frankly, adults really aren't that much better. So taste does matter. Now, there's other solvents that can be used. They're very common because they're cheap, but they have health concerns for the nervous system. And you'll see things like butane, hexane, acetone, which is truly nail polish remover, and propane are still retained in the finished extract. And you'll see these in the C of A's for some of our competitors. If you see this, avoid the product, particularly if you're already dealing with health challenges. The best way to determine the safety of the extract you use is to go to the company's website and look for the certificate of analysis to determine the presence of solvents. And you can also determine how much of the different cannabinoids they have and terpenes and other compounds to see what you're looking at. Now, just a quick reference, when you're looking at a C of A, these are the sort of questions the folks at Marlene's are going to be asking. They're going to be looking at the C of A, they're going to contact the lab director, say, hey, is this your report? Because hey, Photoshop is a thing. And herb fraud is one of the oldest forms of business in the world. But a C of A is a certificate of analysis. It's a third-party analysis by a lab showing they've confirmed what's in the product. And this slide shows the kind of questions that we're going to be asking. You know, what's the total amount of cannabinoids? What other compounds are present? Did they test the crop for heavy metals, pesticides, herbicide? Are they testing for microbiology on the finished product, such as staph, yeast, and mold? And are we testing for solvents? And all of these go into making sure that you're getting the best medicine possible. And this is what a good retailer is going to do for you. This is what Marlene's does for you. And this is what we strongly suggest anyone do, because there is a lot of fraud in industry. So in regards to the other end of the spectrum of actually producing products by people who care, that's where we come in. As I mentioned, we're a company that is producing, formulas for, we are producing formulas for practitioners, their patients, and people who use CBD to support their health. Our formulas are based on the needs of our practitioners rather than what's the latest fad, or and we're really looking at what are the best options to support health. So let's go into what we work with and what your choices might be. So of all CBD products, supercritical CO2 extract and MCT oil is the most popular for clinical use, as it's the most predictable, consistent, and effective delivery method for ongoing therapeutic system support. Unlike smoking or vaping, the oil is much slower to absorb. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to achieve tissue saturation after going through through the liver. But it has the advantage of staying in the system much longer. It has a half-life of about 6 hours and can take up to 36 hours to fully deplete from our bodies. For this reason, in a clinical setting, CBD oil is taken at every meal and bedtime to keep levels of our endogenous cannabinoids, anandamide and 2-AG, at their highest levels while assisting with their function and the body's receptivity. We produce two potencies, regular and extra strength, and we also produce a pet form, which is our human regular strength without any flavoring. We don't do a different quality for the pets, we give them human quality. So even as we prefer oil for the ongoing support, it is important to realize that everyone is unique and there's not a standard recommendation of milligrams of CBD per pound of body weight. What we do know is divided dosing gives much better results, with 5 milligrams 4 times a day working much better than 20 milligrams once a day or 10 milligrams twice a day. Again, it goes back to the constant support of the system upregulating its function. Still, there is a great deal of range in how much works. Some people find 5 milligrams 4 times a day works awesome, while other people may use much higher amounts, 25, 50, or 100 milligrams a serving. Instead of one size fits all, we suggest people start at a lower level and increase the serving size every day until they get to their desired level of comfort. Some are going to need less, others may need more, but you can feel extremely comfortable in finding your own level, as hemp is exceptionally safe, with no significant side effects seen at levels of up to 1,500 milligrams of CBD a day in a clinical setting. So the optimal way to increase your levels is at dinner and bedtime, which tends to support a more restorative sleep. And this chart is an example of someone increasing their daily servings at breakfast, lunch, dinner, and bedtime. And then the first day, they're doing 5 milligrams each serving. The second day, they increased it by 5 milligrams. The third day, they increased it by 5 milligrams. And they did this until, in this example, at the end of a week, they're at 25 milligrams 4 times a day. And this is the level that worked for them. Now, that does not mean that's what you're going to need. The key is to find out for yourself what's the minimum you need to achieve ideal results. And as herbalists, we're always looking to use the least amount of medicine instead of the most. And that's part of the reason we prefer oil, is that this is meant to be microdosed down to a single drop, yielding half a milligram of oil. Now, we have these herbal serving records that we provide for retailers, and this is meant to help consumers track your servings to find what works for you. As I mentioned, we have two potencies of 600 or 1,500 milligrams of CBD per ounce. This allows us to provide a wide range of serving sizes based on the need of the consumer. The regular oil is meant to be microdosed down to a half a milligram per single drop, with the same consistency from the first drop to the last. Each quarter milliliter mark on the dropper equals 5 milligrams of the regular strength for 20 milligrams in a full dropper. The extra strength has 12.5 milligrams per mark, with a total of 50 milligrams per dropper. The sublingual drops formula is specifically designed for better absorption. It's not just CBD extract. We put it in MCT oil because that dramatically increases absorption and stability over other oil forms. MCT actually increases the absorption of CBD by about 50%. So while hemp oil might seem like the natural approach, hemp oil doesn't necessarily absorb better, or MCT absorbs better, and MCT is more stable because hemp oil, unfortunately, starts to go rancid as soon as you open it. And by the time the consumer finishes the bottle, the oil may have turned on them. It's not going to harm them, but it doesn't taste good, and it doesn't absorb as well. We use flavors to complement the efficacy of the formula because there's a lot of complementary compounds in the flavors that we use. Now, these are not flavor oils, these are essential oils. This is all the compounds available from an essential oil extraction of either spearmint, cinnamon, or lemon ginger. And all of these are used because they improve absorption as well as taste. And then we use sunflower lecithin to improve absorption. It gives you a smoother mouthfeel. It gives you better ability of lipid compounds to cross over the cell wall, and it ensures to the drop consistency by improving homogeneity, meaning that it's the same throughout the formula and throughout the bottle. We also gives you just a little bit of phosphatidylcholine for nervous system support. Now, our lecithin is a little unique in that most of what's on the market is hexane solvent extracted from soybeans. Now, soybeans are top allergen for a lot of people, and we are dealing with in the clinic with a lot of people with autoimmune disorders. So we want to avoid that. And soybeans are a highly genetically modified crop, and we really try to avoid GMOs. So our lecithin is not solvent extracted, so there's no residual solvents to worry about, and it's made from sunflowers, which are non-GMO. So our sublingual drops are ideal for ongoing support of the endocannabinoid system, and they help to normalize and support its function. But there's times when we need more than what simple CBD has to offer. And for this reason, we've developed formulas that give us targeted results for certain systems when we might be looking for different results in regards to what we're targeting or the time of delivery or function. So we have formulas for specific use and applications. In regards to that, the first one is our oral buccal spray, which Elizabeth and I were discussing before we got started. And this one is for quick as needed support. It is a staff and employee favorite. And my wife, it's her favorite because she uses it for as needed results for anxiety with flying. This is very different than the drops. It's a fast absorbing version of our full spectrum CBD extract, but we put it in an ethanol solution. Now that's not common. And the reason is typically when you put hemp in alcohol, it takes that black pepper back of the throat bite and makes it about 10 times worse. So it's really not very palatable. Well, what we do is we mix it with other herbal ingredients. So when you take a spray, for about a second, it bites you, and then it feels like you've been to the dentist and you feel your mouth go numb. That's all the other herbs that are basically there to anesthetize your mouth so that you can hold it. Now, this is a buccal spray. Buccal is different than sublingual. It's a pharmaceutical term for something that goes in your cheek. Why do we want to use it in your cheek? Because we're using your saliva glands as the backdoor into your bloodstream. So this is going to be used to quickly absorb through the mucous membranes of the cheek and the saliva glands, and it's typically used for quick improvements to physical and mental comfort. This is an acute use for occasional nervous tension to reduce stress and improve comfort while working or by working out, or if you're just, you're going to be a weekend warrior and you got a honey-do list a mile long, this is great for helping with physical comfort. You can use this first thing in the morning, before a meeting. It's the holidays. You've got the uncle who wants to tell you all about his politics. This is the product that can get you through. This formula is designed to give quick results to calm your nerves. It has the same potency extract as we use in our regular strength with full spectrum hemp with a plethora of cannabinoids, terpenes, and other natural compounds. We use sugar cane derived ethanol, so it's a clean form of ethanol. We use prickly ash to open up the saliva glands and speed absorption. And prickly ash also binds to the receptors, the endocannabinoid system, increasing their activity and effect. And then kava, propolis, spearmint, and lohan basically numb the mouth to cover up that ethanol astringency and support absorption and reduce that acrid taste. Now, the benefits are the clinical observations are that the benefits are there in about 15 minutes, but it tends to completely exhaust in 4 to 6 hours. So if you're looking for ongoing support of the ECS, this is not going to be the product. This is best for short-term as needed results, but not as well suited as the drops for ongoing support due to that faster depletion time. Now, our oral sleep spray is based on the buccal spray and is, again, using that delivery system for quick absorption. So we added herbs in addition that support the production, usage, and breakdown of GABA, which is another endogenous compound we produce that calms our nervous system. And the GABAergic cell signaling system is governed by the ECS. So we're complementing that system by using herbs that target it. The buccal delivery gives you a quick delivery with results in as little as 5 minutes. The passion flower in there is, herbalists will tell you, it calms the chattering mind. So if you're in the middle of the night and you're thinking about all the things you've got to do, passion flower is your friend. And passion flower also increases concentrations of GABA in the brain. We also use lemon balm, which is, safe enough for children. And lemon balm is soothing to the nervous system, and it slows down the enzymatic degradation of GABA, allowing you to hang on to what you produced longer. It also helps to calm the digestive tract. Now, skullcap is legendary for supporting a really deep sleep. And again, it's used for insomnia, restless sleep, nervous agitation, and exhaustion, and it's specifically indicated for nervous irritation of the cerebrospinal nervous system. So this is very strong and effective for helping us to calm our nervous system. And then, of course, we've got chamomile, which we all remember. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the bunny, Peter Rabbit. His mother gave him chamomile tea, um, which chamomile is a fantastic sleep aid. Which it's not only helps to calm your nervous system, but it also decreases gastrointestinal irritation. It's antispasmodic. It's a sedative. It's anti-inflammatory. And it is a nervine that is very specific for neural irritability in people with a strong or active nervous system, and it decreases inflammation in the nervous system. So this combination formula really is very powerful and effective to support your body systems to get you to a better state of sleep and a more reparative sleep. And then finally, we've got CBG. And CBG, you may remember, is that mother cannabinoid. And we launched this due to requests from clinicians and a few retailers. We know less about it, but the early indications in research indicate it may be best for reducing inflammation of the gut lining, and especially helpful for those with IBS, leaky gut, and gut-centered autoimmune health issues. Now, the research is still in the early stages, but the main differentiator from CBD or THC is that CBDG is a highly potent alpha-2 adrenoceptor agonist. This is unique. Why does that matter? This class of chemicals have been used for decades to treat hypertension, ADD, ADHD, various pain and panic disorders, symptoms of a certain drug addiction, alcohol withdrawal, and cigarette craving. So the good news is it's wonderful for the nervous system, but that is a potential reason for caution for people who may be on heart medications. So that is a fair warning on CBG. Clinical observations, we've only had plants that were dominant in CBG for a few years. In clinic, our folks were using this the first season the flower became available, and we started extracting it as soon as we could get our hands on it. This particular one is not a CO2 extraction. This is an alcohol extraction because in this case, it works better. We're not committed that there's one way to do everything. We're really concerned with what works best. So in this case, we're using an alcohol extraction. We have found that it really does seem to be fantastic for focus, and there are some good results on gut health support. So we also have some topical products, and this is where you can tell that we're really herb nerds and clinicians, because we came up with two different approaches to pain management, because there's two. When you're looking at it clinically, there are two important different ways that you have to deal with it. So we complement CBD with herbs to really improve the results. The skin absorption does not enter the CNS, so these products are not going to be sedating. The cream is straight up, I believe this is the best thing on the market for pain management. We use 150 milligrams of CBD per ounce. But honestly, if we had no CBD, this would still be the strongest on the market. These other herbs that are in there are effective enough on its own. But in this case, they help the CBD support a healthy pain response, nervous system, and response to inflammation. And the benefits typically are going to be seen within a minute or two of application. Now we're using the same full spectrum hemp extract that we use in every one of our products. That's got we measure for 8 different cannabinoids. We know there's more with dozens of other terpenes and other compounds, but it's the herbs that are really just fantastic on this. The first thing is corydalis. Now, corydalis is from Chinese medicine, and it plugs into the opiate receptor sites and really interferes with the efficiency of pain transmission, as well as Jamaican dogwood, which is a really powerful nervine that calms down an overactive nervous system. We tie that with arnica, St. John's wort, hops, turmeric, and boswellia, allowing us to target pain transmission and the efficiency of that transmission through multiple pathways in action to basically interfere in every way we can with that activity. We also use ginger, tangerine, and spilanthes to improve the absorption and circulation of the tissue into the tissue. This is a fantastic formula. It works very quickly. It doesn't sit on top of the skin. It absorbs in really well. But there is a caveat with this. You do not want to use this with injury because you can sprain an ankle and go run and then really screw up your ankle because you're not feeling the proper pain. You need to have some pain sensitivity with injuries so you know when to take it easy. And the cream is strong enough that actually you can injure yourself. I give these seminars and I don't listen to my own advice. I actually hurt myself doing this. I've got a 10-year-old. I was trying to keep up with playing basketball with him and his friends. They were having fun, breaking ankles on me, and I pulled a hamstring. But I've got a 10-year-old who wants to play with dad every day. I want to play basketball. So I put some cream on it, keep playing with these guys. Well, I ended up screwing up my calf, my ACL, my MCL. And I went to the doctor and they're like, how are you walking? Your whole back of your leg is bruised. I'm like, oh, I don't look at the back of my leg when I'm showering. He goes, how are you getting by? I said, oh, I've got this great cream. He's like, quit using it. You're going to hurt yourself. So for that reason, we have a different product for pain related to injury. And this is our version of ancient Chinese healing formula known as white flower oil that has about a 3,000-year-old, it's a 3,000-year-old formula used for traumatic injury. And we took that and we improved it by adding our CBD and Jamaican dogwood, which is that powerful nervine. And then we also added cayenne to open up the skin for increased absorption and dispersion. So this formula is using Jamaican dogwood, boswellia, lavender, peppermint, wintergreen, camphor, and these all absorb very quickly. They're in an alcohol delivery. By the way, white flower oil is the formula from which Tiger Balm and Icy Hot and Bengay, all these things develop from. On top of that, we've added cayenne because it opens up the interstitial tissue to improve absorption. And in particular, it binds to a particular pain receptor called a TRPV1 or a TRP receptor or a vanillinoid receptor. And these are the ones that engage when you tear tissue. So they specifically are only when you injure yourself, and cayenne is really effective at targeting that. And then the roll-on actually has more cayenne in it to go in really deep. And of course, that begs the question, why didn't it use more cayenne in the spray? Well, that's called mace, and that's problematic. So there's a limit to how much cayenne we can use in a spray form. So that's the last of our topicals. And then we recently this year have developed capsules. And actually we've been working on these for a long time. They have a longer absorption time and a longer depletion time. So there are 2 days, a 2-a-day use product. And they're going to be delivering 20 milligrams per serving of CBD. This capsule delivery gives us a lot more options to work with herbs that may be problematic when we try to blend with a tincture. CBD or cannabis, when we're doing all this extraction, is a resinous plant. And when you work with resinous plants, they give you certain challenges. So things like CBD, but also propolis, also frankincense, you have to use a really high alcohol content or they start to crystallize and fall back out of suspension. And you can get a lot of variability in your formulas that way. So you have to take steps and measures to make sure that that doesn't happen. So in the case of like our sleep formula, we had to use all of those herbs, have different the tinctures that we did in-house at 90% alcohol. You don't typically do that, but we did it because we want to keep a consistency to our formula. Now, there are some herbs that you just can't mix in an alcohol form and have them blend well. So what we did is we figured out a way to take the CBD extract and spray it over plant fiber. And that puts it into a dry form that we can mix into capsules. And that gives us a lot more freedom and range of choices in formulating while getting exceptional results. So the immune formula comes directly from one of our practitioners. Dr. Cedar Miller is down in Ashland, Oregon. He's a doctor of Chinese medicine. And all of our formulations, our herbal formulations come from his informed practice of having used cannabis as herbal medicine for about 20 years. And part of the reason for developing the capsules was so we could do this formula, because this is something he uses extensively with cancer patients and autoimmune disorders. And this is built to support the health of the ECS and to really target deep immune support using mushrooms. So we're using the 20 milligrams of our CBD extract to support the ECS and immune function. And then we're using medicinal mushrooms that go deep in their support. And we make sure these are mushrooms grown on their native medium, because mushrooms transform other things into medicine. And there are certain compounds that you can only get from the mushroom if it's grown in its native medium. So if you turn around and grow some of these mushrooms on, for example, rice bran, you don't get the same compounds present in the mushroom. So these are, among practitioners, this is the form that's really important. And we use reishi, chaga, and turkey tail, which are renowned for immune support in extremely challenging circumstances. They also help improve cellular communication and function in the microbiome and support increased immune function in the microbiome. And then finally, we are using Poria, which you don't find a lot of people using that, and most folks aren't familiar with it, but it's renowned in Chinese medicine to support immune function at times of greatest challenge. When you burn the candle at both ends, your immune response can be really challenged. And there are certain forms of treatment that can be just exhausting for the body and making it hard for the immune system to respond. And Poria has a long clinical history of supporting the immune function during times of distress. So this is something that is not super experiential unless you are having difficulty with an immune response, or let's say, well, again, I can't get to disease claims, but there are times when you should be healing, you should be responding, and you're just exhausted and you can't. And if you take when you take these, you tend to notice a difference, that you start responding pretty quickly. Now, the flip side of that, our immune inflammatory support is one that really benefits from sampling, because the first time you take it, you're going to notice that this product really works. This is built for immediate benefits and long-term benefits to reduce discomfort with herbs that interfere with pain sensor activity and efficiency, promote neuromodulation, meaning normalizing your response, and healing, and promote healing with better circulation and oxygenation of our tissue. Corydalis and turmeric are the most powerful things for improved quick improvements to comfort. It's going to take about 3 hours for this CBD in this form to absorb, but the corydalis and the turmeric, you're typically going to feel a difference on this one within about a half hour. Boswellia works with great results and improves the longer you take it. The form of Boswellia we use is a patented form that has been proven effective in clinical trials, where people saw significant improvement and comfort at 30 days, that got better at 60 days, that was even better at 90 days. And that, that's a choice we made on getting the best form of it, but it really, over long term, is a fantastic support product. And of course, the CBD supports the endocannabinoid system and modulating our pain response. And then the last formula is our stress support, which I could talk for a half hour on the complexities of Chinese medicine that went into this formula. It is one of my favorites because it is so well put together. But it is a multi-systemic support of the health of a healthy stress response by supporting the healthy nervous system response with adaptogens and other herbs that support stress reduction and energy production. The first thing to look at is that we're using ginsengs, and this is where I'm going to, you have to forgive me, I'm going to nerd out on you a little bit. Within herbal medicine, we have these ideas of energetics. And don't get caught up in, oh, that's not exactly how it works. This is a 3,000-year-old system that they were working with their world around them and trying to understand how things work. And when we talk about hot, cold, and neutral, that's talking about how do they work in the body. So a hot ginseng would be Panax ginseng, which is kind of like a go, go, go coffee, energy type of stimulant. Whereas Eulithro, which used to be called Siberian ginseng, would be more like, well, you're kind of tired, well, take a nap. And it's nourishing to the adrenals, making it easier for us to produce energy. And then American ginseng would be considered, and that would be a cooling ginseng. And American ginseng would be considered neutral. And it's not like Goldilocks, it's like too hot, too cold, just right. Neutral is modulating, is rebalancing, is helping the body say, well, I'm out of whack here, take me in this direction. And you may think, well, if I give you hot, cold, neutral, I'm telling the body to do 3 things at once. Nope. You're giving the body a greater range to operate in, and then the body determines where it wants to go based on its needs. Now, what Cedar did on top of this is he added other herbs that are not truly ginsengs, but they have that same effect of helping our body go where it wants to go with more targeted support. So ashwagandha has a lot of different properties in it. One of the funner ones is that it helps to pull cortisol back out of your system after you produce it, so it doesn't hang out. And I've heard this described as so that you aren't carrying yesterday's stress with you, but it really does help to clear out the cortisol. It does a whole host of other things. We also are using rhodiola, which has been considered, I've been called a ginseng for the mind. They did a great study at Moscow University with this about 20 years ago, where they were giving graduate students the equivalent tests, and one group that all had the same amount of training of information. One group was given coffee, one group was given rhodiola. And then you had a control group who didn't take either. The control group took the longest to do everything. The coffee group did things faster with more mistakes. The rhodiola group did things faster without making more mistakes. So it helps with mental clarity, with mental function, without giving you kind of that shaky, jittery effects of caffeine or causing you to make more mistakes. Schizandra is well known for its supporting adrenal function and is reparative and restorative to the adrenals. Cordyceps actually helps you use oxygen better. And cordyceps, it is going to be helpful for energy production in an indirect way, in that it helps you to convert oxygen into energy, and is real popular among endurance athletes. And at one time was actually banned from Olympic competition. It's a pretty powerful herb. And then licorice is used to get all the herbs to play well together. And let's see here. So in conclusion, CBD can be a really effective way to help us better perceive and respond to challenges in our internal and external environment. And at a time when there's more and more reasons for stress and worry, CBD can be a useful and effective ally to help us navigate the challenge of modern life. It is uniquely effective in helping us maintain a healthy perception of threat. And if you'd like more information, I encourage you to visit our website for more information on our products. We have an Herbarium blog that allows you to look at more detail. We've got guides to how ginsengs work. We talk about the endocannabinoid system. We talk about all sorts of different. If you really want to get into the weeds on this, we'd love to share that with you, because we're obsessive about this stuff. This is what we love for. We also have you can look at the test results page, and you can go take a look at what are the, confirm there's no heavy metals in the soil that we're growing in, and confirm the levels of all the good stuff, and make sure there's no bad stuff present. We're full disclosure on that. Every single bottle has a lot number that you can search, and you can go find the test results on that. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope this has given you a better understanding of how CBD can support your health. And I invite you to ask questions if you have any more at this time.
Thank you so much, Doug. That was fascinating.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it.
I know that we had several people pop on Facebook Live and tuned in, so that's always
Awesome.
wonderful. And we open this time to any questions. Feel free to use the features here in the Zoom meeting, and enter questions in the chat box if you happen to be shy. I'm going to check Facebook live stream to see if we have any questions there.
Okay.
And then we might stop the live stream just to open it up in the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Okay, no questions there. So we're going to say goodbye to our Facebook Live friends. And we thank you so much for tuning in.